This is the Voice of the Land podcast with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Nick Paulus.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to another edition of the Voice of the Land podcast. This is season 3, episode 15. I am one of your hosts, Kevin Arnold. Alongside me, as always, my brother, Nick Paulus. Paulus, it's draft week. How you feeling, man? Long 3 days, man.
We are on day 3 starting up, but it is fantastic. Just want to give a shout out, real quick shout out to everyone that, helped us, with the draft night the other night. I mean, one of the highlights, of our podcast, obviously,
Yes.
Probably the biggest thing that we've ever done for sure. So just fantastic. Loved it. Day 2, ton of things to get into from yesterday, and now we have day 3, which is picks was it rounds 4 through 7. So it's going to be a great one. I can't wait for it today.
Yeah, beyond Browns picks, I have a player to look out for because a family friend, or at least on the girlfriend side, a family friend that could be drafted from down in the southern portion of the state of Ohio. So looking for Colton McKivitz, the name Colton McKivitz today.
What position?
I think it's one of the linemen, either offense or defense. Okay. I think something like that. But 5th or 7th round was the projection for Colton. So definitely looking for his name to be drafted here today. So exciting time for him and his family, just like all the prospects out there. And of course, we have behind the scenes our producer extraordinaire behind the proverbial glass, Peter Tellup, who we want to give a special shout out to him, and Jim Wagner, 2 of the people that we want to send a special thank you to for this past Thursday night for all of their work and all of the production. I went back and I watched some of the live stream as the replay on YouTube. Those graphics are sick. So thank you so much. And I know we've got a graphic going on with the podcast now as well, down in the bottom. Thank you so much for all the work that you guys put in there.
My pleasure.
Of course, we want to thank our partnerships with Web Streaming Studio by LPV, NEO Sports Network. You can always catch the podcast on YouTube. You can always subscribe to our channel at Voice of the Land Podcast. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at VTL_POD. And of course, Twitter for Paulus is at CLE_Paulus. Myself at Kevin7. Find Peter Tellup with LPV Productions on all social media sites. Reach out to them. And as always, find the podcast throughout the week on all major podcast platforms, Google, Spotify, Apple. And hey, if you do head over to Facebook and find LPV Productions, why not search Voice of the Land as well? Hit that like button and get all the updates there if you're using Facebook most often. Today, we are here to talk draft, and we are going to start by kind of going back to Thursday night and kind of talking through how all that went. It was definitely a big night for us. I know that these couple days, just watching the draft, going through work, and then watching the draft and all of this and talking for 5 hours or more and all the stuff we did on Thursday night, I'm still feeling the effects of that. I am so tired. So I am not going to try to remember everybody's name. Paulus, I know you have the list, so if you want to mention people I may forget here, by all means, do so, because we do appreciate everybody that did join in, whether you watched on YouTube or all of the guests that we had. We do want to give a couple other special shout-outs, of course, to Always Positive Jay. You can find him on Twitter at Always Positive Jay. Yes, he is always positive. He is a big Browns fan. Good luck to him. I know he's going to be starting to try to get into this industry as well, starting his path at the Ohio Media School, like Paulus and I did. So definitely good things for him. A guy that was on the phones, working the phones all night long to get us guests. So we appreciate everything he did to help get our live stream going. And it's definitely something we're going to look to do moving forward, more so in the future. And we want to give special shout outs and thank yous to Michael Bohm and Jordan Climack, producers at ESPN Cleveland, who stuck it out for the entire time there throughout the entire 5 hours. So thank you so much to them. Paulus, I know we had some other people join us. I know you have the list there to just kind of run through and thank them. My mind is so out there, but I don't want to miss anybody because we do appreciate all of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, Mike Bohm, Jordan Climack were great with us. Always Positive Jay got the whole thing set up. my buddy Tyler, our friend Tyler
Hmm.
from our fantasy league. Then obviously, that's what B said crew came in. I didn't see them coming in. We've been trying to get in contact with them
Yeah,
for a little bit. Made a surprise appearance, so that was fantastic. Super happy to have them on. Would love to have a joint pod,
absolutely.
in the future. I mean, that'd be fantastic. So, yeah, all of them. Hayden Grove came through in the clutch. Didn't see that happening. So that was fantastic. Even I mean, he was only able to stick around for just a couple of minutes, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was great to see him.
Hmm.
So fantastic to have him on and his point of view. Cameron Justice. I mean, our first guest of the night. So truly thankful and happy that she was able to come in on on her end and stick around for us. I mean, she was on with us for about 20 minutes. I mean, fantastic. Super happy to have her. And then obviously Paul Brown, UK Paul Brown. Just, I mean, if we're going to talk about moments of the night, I think like him joining. I got the text from Always Positive Jay about 30 seconds before he joined
Hmm.
saying Paul Brown's joining. I go, like I'm looking at my phone, I'm like, is this happening? Like, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going
Hmm.
to happen. Then, boom, there he is. And yeah, fantastic. Super happy that he was able to join. He said that he liked the videos that we post out there. So that was awesome. Yeah, because you never know who's watching the videos, or it just shows like the view count. Uh,
Right.
but I mean, we've had a couple of view counts that are, over 1,000. And, so it's, people are watching them, but you don't know who is. And,
Yeah.
it was just fantastic to see Paul Brown up there, and me calling him the great Paul Brown. He's like, "No, man, it's all about you guys." I was like, "That's awesome. Thank you, man. That's great."
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely great to see him pop in there. I mean, first of all, if we're getting that kind of views on our videos, even our preview videos,
Yeah,
we're talking about subscribing to YouTube, and when those subscriptions, those if I can even talk today, words are hard, but oh so fun, as we used to say at the Ohio Media School. If we could get those subscriptions up too to those kind of numbers,
that's
if they're
that's the biggest
watching,
thing, and that's what we got to try and keep fighting for. I mean, we're getting the views. It's just
yeah,
getting that subscription. So,
I,
and we're gonna get there. We're
oh yeah,
getting.
absolutely. We're getting there, but it was good to see him, Paul Brown. If you're listening, I mean, I follow you. Hit me back with that follow too. I don't know if you like Paulus's videos more than mine. Maybe I gotta change up something. Hey, let me know. If I gotta be more creative on my videos, I gotta get to Paulus's level. Let me know. So just hit me with that follow and let me know, Paul Brown. And I think one of those highlights was definitely Hayden Grove, because you sent me the text, Paul, as well. While we're kind of having some conversations, we were passing the I guess the imaginary talking stick around through the Zoom chat. It kind of got mixed up around a couple spots throughout the night, but that's going to happen when you got a lot of people that are very passionate about Browns and the NFL draft. So it was all well and good and worked out. But when he popped in and you sent me that text, I was like, well, I see Hayden and I'm going to introduce him as soon as because Cameron was talking and I saw Hayden. I was like, oh yes, let's go. Like, okay, we're getting some connections out there. And then you're like, well, Bohm and Climac are here. It's like, where are they? I don't see them. And you're like, yeah, just hit that arrow, and it's just like scrolling across the top there. There's the
Yep.
different boxes. So like not everybody was populating for me. So I'm glad you were able to see that and you were kind of helping out behind the scenes, because I was like trying to steer this ship
Well, it
in the
was
right
it was
direction. And I was like, whoo.
we got into one point where it's like we started a conversation, and then like Hayden and I can't remember who else popped up, but I think it was Hayden, Climac, and Bohm like all popped
Yeah.
in at the
Mhm.
same exact time. And as that was going down, I was like, oh damn, like we just started this question. I want to get them going. I mean, yeah, just a quick text, because I didn't know if you saw what I was seeing, and that's
Yeah.
why I was like, dude, we got to get this going. Let's do this. But no,
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as we got them on, I mean, everything was
Mm.
perfect. I couldn't ask for a better setup as to what we did that night. I mean, if there was anything that I would like to switch up for next draft that we do, it's, maybe us, you and I both taking a better ring, like
Hmm.
just stranglehold on the
Yeah.
conversation, because it wasn't like anyone was butting in and out, and they were trying to fight over to talking at people. Everyone was fantastic. It's just maybe us pushing out the questions a little bit better and trying
Mm.
to involve everyone
Right.
in all of the questions. But it's tough to do in a draft whenever the picks were going like this. It's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah, I mean, something like that. I mean, you start getting so many guests in there, and that was tremendous to have. I mean, at one point having what 14, 15
It's
different
like
people on the
15 people on at one time. It
yeah.
was fantastic.
So like the people that were watching on YouTube, they can see all the people that are in. But like you said, you don't know what I was seeing across the top, like how many people I was seeing across the top, who you were seeing across the top. So I was like trying to like remember, oh my gosh, who's in here? So like I kept anytime someone was talking, I would like scroll to I would put across and try to keep scrolling through and who can
Oh
I
yeah.
direct the next question to? Who can I, who can be involved? And you're right. I mean, about kind of harnessing what's going on, and that's just learning because this is a whole new thing for everybody. So everybody in the industry is trying to learn how to do this, especially if you got a lot of people on and directing questions and getting people on, talking at the right time. I think the only thing with it was when someone does try to talk and the same time someone else does here on Zoom. The problem is if you're talking, you don't hear that person starting to talk at all. And it actually like both people negate each other out. It's like two negatives make a or two positives somehow making a negative when that doesn't make any sense at all. That's
Right.
really what it was becoming was, I'd see like either you and Bohm were like talking and um I didn't hear anything because like both people were talking at one time, and until one person stopped, you didn't hear the other person. So that's it's just all part of all part of the learning curve. And I'm sure a lot of people on Zoom are doing that. Peter, from your end, kind of on behind the scenes there, just what did it look like, and how do you think everything kind of went, and how much did you enjoy just sitting back there for 5 hours listening to all this?
It was it was a lot of fun. It was we tried to have a little bit of a gatekeeper mentality to make sure people weren't just popping in, but
Hmm.
it's like I have monitors on every side of me and I'm looking around and it went well. There's a couple things I want to switch up with the graphics and make them. I was looking at what they did on ESPN and
Hmm.
stealing ideas from them. So we'll make it a little bit. As the
It's not
picks come
stealing,
in,
it's borrowing.
Yeah.
borrowing. They're. I can't even think of the word. Like you said, words are hard right now, so I'm still
Yes.
recovering from that long night. But it was a lot of fun, and Jim had a great time. He was ready to like do round two, and I'm like, I don't know if I could
I,
sit in this
I was
chair
going to
for
say, yeah, he
round
said he
two.
wanted to do more rounds, and I was
I
like,
was like,
that's tough.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna watch more rounds. I'm not gonna be able to break down more rounds. I mean, our guys, our friends, our buddies that we're gonna have on in the future as well on the Cut FFL. Those guys that kind of started a fantasy pod and have kind of transitioned into looking at drafts. Just overall, those guys they had actually some technical problems, so unfortunately they weren't even able to join. A couple of them join in on ours. We are gonna try to do some cross platform as well if we could, like jump out, jump in on some of these, but they had some technical problems, so they did second and third round. I
Mhm.
started watching the replay a little bit of their third round coverage, and they're breaking these prospects down. Like I knew a couple of the names last night, but I wouldn't be able to break it down like they were. I mean, those are people that are really into the mock drafts and the prospects and breaking all that down. Like I told you guys on Thursday night, if I want to be able to do that, even do one round mock draft, I should have started 2 months ago for 2021 to even get that started. So, but yeah, I mean, Peter, you said it best. Words are definitely hard today. I feel like the Freddie Kitchens of this podcast, according to Paul, is because I'm bumbling and stumbling all around to start this podcast out.
The
I
bees
love.
like that. The
I
bees
know.
like that.
Yeah. So yeah, shout out to that crew as well. So we'll definitely reach out to them and try to get cross-platform, get some more guests on, and hopefully some of those people that joined us, we can kind of have more individual conversations or some kind of more directed conversations with them on near future podcasts. Now that we know kind of how to do this and how to get some guests on, we'll get back into that thing here soon. But they definitely loved that line, and I did too when you said that bumbling thing. There was a couple people I saw actually respond to tweets using that line last night. So you know, you started a trend there, Paulus. Way to go, man.
There we go. That's what we do here. Voice of the land,
So
trendsetters.
yes, we are. You know, well, you are. I mean, you're definitely got that. You're definitely putting a new stamp on the whole headbands, keeping the hair controlled type thing going on at least.
Got to with this little rag top up top. Gotta get something going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's you got to do what you got to do right now, right? Until barbershops open back up, and I know we say it every single week right now, and we said it on Thursday night. But again, just continuous thanks and appreciation for all frontline and essential workers right now, keeping us going. And I know as states start to open up slowly, starting on May 1st, we got to all make sure that we don't try to push it too quickly. I know people want to get back to sports, they want to get back to regular life. I think if anything, this whole quarantine issue, as stir crazy as we are, I think anything, if it's taught us anything, it's kind of reiterated the fact that patience really is a virtue. As much as we hated hearing that as a kid, I don't know if your parents kind of said that every single time, but uh, it really is. Patience really is a virtue, and good things will get back going if we kind of just follow things and go through slowly rather than try to just do everything all at once, and we'll be able to thrive a lot longer rather than going back to where we are now within a month. So thank you to everybody putting that work in to get us back to normal life at some point here in the near future. But we are here to continue talking draft because we had two more rounds happen last night. The Browns had a few more picks. They picked up safety Grant Delpit out of LSU in the second round after a trade down to get a fifth round pick. We couldn't go a whole draft without seeing Andrew Berry go back to those analytical days and trading down. And we saw it again in the third round. From pick 74 to pick 88, they swap picks with the New Orleans Saints. Saints give us their third round pick in 2021, and we gave up a seventh round pick. I did see all the beat reporters were all excited about that because their day will apparently be shorter unless the Browns continue to trade down and they grab a seventh round pick. You're going to have to stay on. So I wouldn't count those chickens before they're hatched just yet, beat reporters. But the Browns did pick up a defensive tackle out of Mizzou, Jordan Elliott, and then so that was at pick 88 in the third round, and then at pick 97, got that linebacker in Jacob Phillips out of LSU, who I believe only missed 3 out of his 88 tackle attempts last season. Paulus, just kind of let's just start there. Let's start with our thoughts on the draft picks we made last night. Has the mood changed in terms of the Browns draft from Thursday night when we were all excited that they got their tackle and took the guy that they wanted, didn't do anything too drastic, to yesterday trading around and picking up the guys they did?
Yeah, I was super excited, obviously, on Thursday night getting Jedrick Wills. I wanted a tackle to end up that night. Like, no matter what, if we traded to get Trent Williams and stayed at 10 to get the best available player, or that was the pipe dream. That's the pipe dream that I was hoping for. However, I think that we ended up getting one of the top 2 tackles of this draft. I think it was between. I loved Wirfs, but apparently Wirfs wasn't the most complete of the packages. From what I'm hearing from everyone else, it was basically Andrew Thomas or Jedrick Wills were the top 2 tackles of this draft, and we ended up getting one of them. Jedrick Wills. It seems like a solid draft pick, and I've actually been doing a little bit of research on him. If you want, go check out his commitment video to Alabama. I don't know if you saw that or not, but fantastic. I will be retweeting that later. He's going through a suit shop and he's dressing up for his family, and they're like, no. And then as soon as he dresses up in the Bama, everyone goes crazy. I love it. Absolutely love it. So dude has some style, has some flair. We like that. He's already reached out, or Joe Thomas has actually already reached out to him, and they seem to be linking up. So I'm all for that. And then obviously going into last night, there was a lot of, well, are they gonna take, is Winfield gonna be there? Is Grant Delpit gonna be there? Is Xavier gonna be there? Xavier McKinney from Alabama, which is the guy personally I wanted to get, because everyone's comparing him to Minka Fitzpatrick, of the Steelers and old Alabama. And that's something that I was like, man, if you could add a Minka to this lineup, oh my God, could you imagine that? Obviously, Xavier did not go to Cleveland there for us, which is okay. But we ended up trading back and getting Grant Delpit anyways, which I thought was a risky move, but it ended up working out. So, I mean, congrats to Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns for getting that. He's one of the safeties that I really wanted. We shored up the safety spot. A lot of people, and you and I were talking about this last night, Kevin, Grant Delpit, to the Cleveland media, a lot of people are asking him, well, what about you missing tackles? What about that? What about this? And he's come out and he's like, man, I should tackle you for asking me that question. It's fantastic. That's exactly what I want to hear from my safety.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was Nate Ulrich who did ask
Yes.
that question, and I've talked to Nate a couple times just in passing, and when I was doing some internship stuff with Ohio Media School out at the captains games that we used to work, and I was actually at the game where Jarvis was promoting his softball game that was happening at Classic Park in Eastlake, Ohio. Nate was one of the reporters that went for the press conference, and I was kind of helping him a little bit, actually get the sound and get stuff over to him to help him out with that, and had a couple other conversations with him. But so I felt a little bit bad for him that he was the one that ended up having that directed to him. I'm sure that there's others that some of
But
the
it's like it's an awesome thing, because
people.
now that's going to go down in lore. Like
Oh
who
yeah,
asked that question? Oh, it was Nate.
yeah.
Now everyone knows who it was from.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I feel bad for the person that it's going to be attached to. I'm not saying that anything against any of the beat reporters, but we know that there are certain fans out there that would probably get even more amped up if it was others that had certain other people that
Sure.
had asked that question. So but it definitely something that made me like Grant Delpit more. It kind of like transitioned my thoughts towards Grant, like him even more once I saw that quote on Twitter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he definitely won me over with that quote. And then once again, then we're going into the third round, and I kept getting a bunch of texts from some of our friends and fans, Tyler being one of them. Is there any way Zach Bond's going to last until 74? I was like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. And it just kept going down the list. I mean, Mel Kiper's big board, Zach Bond, number one player, getting passed up, getting passed up, getting passed up. And then it finally gets to number 73. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to take him. Like there's no doubt in my mind the Browns are going to take Zach Bond at four, or the very next pick. And then what comes across my screen is the trade of all trades, the ultimate Browns trade. Oh, you like the player that's going to be coming up next? Well, we're going to trade down, give that player to someone else, and we're going to look for the future. I was furious. You and I had talked immediately after that trade went down, and I was going to come in raging, and I thought I might be cussing on this podcast. I might be going crazy on this one. They ended up getting Jordan Elliott, which apparently Pro Football Focus loves this kid. Like I know what I'm looking at your face right now, Kevin. I know what you're talking about. But Jordan Elliott apparently is Pro Football Focuses. He's like number 17th, with like the all the scores and what he's projected to be, and so he looks like a fantastic prospect, which is great. But it's one of those things where it's like a defensive tackle. I'm not sure if that's something that I'm really all about right now. We needed a linebacker. What did we need? We needed a linebacker. We didn't need a defensive tackle. I understand that, Larry Ogunjobi's going into his last year of his contract. I understand that Sheldon Richardson is going into his second year of a 3-year deal. So maybe you cut Sheldon after this year and that you want to add depth. Don't get me wrong. The kid's the 5th best tackle in the draft. I'm okay with getting him, but not at the price that we had to give up. The fact that we moved down 14 spots and we passed up on Zach Bond, who to me looked like it's not like he's a surefire Hall of Famer. Okay, let's not get too crazy with that. But the kid looked good and he was projected to go to us for months. And the fact that he actually fell to us is unbelievable. And so I was upset moving back, getting him, but that ended up happening. And what did we get for it? We ended up moving back 97. It was our original spot for the next pick. It was the Duke Johnson pick that we got because Duke Johnson played in a minimum of 12 games, which was a guarantee. Because he never missed a game ever. So thank you for that 3rd round draft pick. But we ended up getting Jacob Phillips. I didn't know too much about him. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know too much about the kid, but he is a linebacker from the SEC. And what you had just said, he had only missed 3 tackles in 88 attempts, which is fantastic. But I'm looking at his body size, and he reminds me so much of Barkevious Mingo, a tall dude, real light. I mean, he's 227 pounds. He's more of a safety than he is a linebacker, it looks like. And then the very next pick, who is it? Malik Harrison. And obviously, OHIO. I know. And it's Malik, I thought would have fit us better because, I mean, he's 247 pounds, 6'3". Jacobs is 6'3", 227 pounds, 20-pound difference, essentially, 15-pound difference. But I think the reason why we picked up Jacob, Phillips over Harrison is because Phillips, has that lean body, but we need someone to spy on Lamar Jackson. Let's be honest. We need someone to be a sure tackler and go in like a go-getter after that quarterback. And Lamar's going to be juking everybody. Everybody. I mean, he was the unanimous MVP of the league last year. So I think maybe going with Phillips, hindsight is probably the better choice than getting Harrison. But damn it, those freaking Ravens, man. Oh my God.
Not just Harrison, but who did they get a running back?
What's that?
I mean, who'd they take? I know we're going to get into it more, but who'd they take a running back? J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
I mean, you're starting to get me to wake up right now even more because let's just break this down. All right.
Okay.
So 2nd round, I'm looking for a safety like everybody was and like been mocked to the Browns for so long. And you had McKinney, Delpit, Winfield Jr., top 3 safeties out there available to start the 2nd round. You knew McKinney wasn't going to make it unless you traded up because he is that Minkah Fitzpatrick type, and a lot of teams probably thought, oh, like this kind of 1st round talent's dropping in the 2nd round. It won't be for long whether someone trades up. And I mean, I forget who ended up taking him, but it was within the first few picks of the 2nd round there that Xavier McKinney went. And I'm thinking, all right, he went that early. Now, will we have an option of safeties to us? And the very next pick was a safety, but a safety I had never heard of, another small school guy. I had heard of course, Jeremy Chin out of Southern Illinois.
To the Giants, by the way.
To the Giants. Okay, yeah. So Gettleman kind of shocking people and being smarter this draft, I guess. I mean, some people did criticize him for the tackle that he took, but they took one of the top tackles. So I mean, you're gonna nitpick just like we did on Thursday.
I thought getting Thomas at 4 was a smart idea. I mean,
yeah.
Sure, you wanted Simmons because you wanted someone that could. Yeah, I mean, they have nobody on that defense that can tackle anybody. That defense is awful. But you want to protect your quarterback, Daniel Jones, and you need a running game, with Saquon.
Mm-hmm.
Saquon got hurt last year. You didn't see anything from him. A lot of people are saying Nick Chubb's better than Saquon now because, and look at the draft difference. I mean, you took Saquon at what, pick 2 or 3,
Two.
two,
It
and
was
then
after Baker.
right, and we ended up taking Nick Chubb at what, pick 35 or 34, the year before. So it's one of those things where it's like, you got to do whatever you can to help out that New York offense. Getting Andrew Thomas was the smart idea, I thought.
Right. We said it during the live broadcast that Gettleman can't really surprise us because anything he does is a shock. So you're not really surprised by anything he does. He actually surprised me because he was smart and took one of the top tackles where when they've needed that. And then they take the top safety on the board, you get that bruiser that's going to come down the box and hit some people. So kudos to them. And then the very next pick, like I said, was another safety. So I'm thinking, all right, well, Delpit, Winfield Jr., and Jeremy Chin are still there. Will all three of those be an option for the Browns to look through? And is one of those three their guy, like Jedrick Wills was their guy at 10 for the tackle? Yeah, we wanted Wirfs, sure. And the initial sting of, we started doing the Wirfs in sort of like the like the
Right.
Wirfs. We started doing that on the podcast thanks to Climax. And so the initial sting, like, yeah, the name that was selected, wasn't happy about that, but then it all went away quickly because Jedrick Wills is still one of those top tackles and one of the most pro ready. And you saw all of it beyond Pro Football Focus. You saw all the different people, Dane Brugler, Daniel Jeremiah, and Mel Kiper. So like all the draft analysts, you can take their word for what it's worth, but
Sure.
it's still like it's a more broad spectrum of very consensus broad spectrum there on Jedrick Wills. So same thing with these three safeties. If their guy was there was similarities in what people were saying about the safeties at that point. I wanted Winfield Jr. And again, the initial sting of first trading back, then seeing, okay, well, they only traded back 3 spots. You best rest assured that your safety gets there, because if you trade back even 3 spots, now you're taking the chance that somebody trades up ahead of you to get your guy. So that you don't even have the choice and you have to go with plan B, plan C, plan D, like we've seen in the past. So they got lucky in the second round. I'll say Barry got lucky in the second round that they were all there. And Delpit, I'll take him. I just want 2018 Grant Delpit. I don't want 2019. And the guy that
2019 was because, I mean, from what everyone's saying, it's because of his injured ankle that he had all year long. So if that's the case, you're getting a steal, in the second round. The guy was a top 15 pick apparently the year before.
Yeah, I watched several LSU games, and then from the start, like the transition of how people were breaking down his tape from the beginning of the season to the end and dealing with that injury, I'm sure that did play into his ability to tackle. And Mel tried to say last night that, there were certain things you couldn't use the injury for excuse for. And just listening to Grant talk, you could tell he was in pain, but he's that kind of guy that he's going to be out there. So if he's going to be that kind of guy, I don't want the nagging injuries, but that's the kind of dog mentality that we need. That's that bruiser mentality we need on this team to generate a culture.
And let's talk about this real quick. Now that we have Grant Delpit, think about the backfield that we have. Okay, so
Yeah.
we have Carl Joseph. I believe he's from West Virginia.
Yeah.
So okay, West Virginia. Okay, they produce a couple of players, out there. I'm not gonna, no joke against them. But then you have
they've had some good safeties, though. I mean, they've had some pretty good safeties, though.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So like I said, no joke. But you're looking at Grant Delpit, you're looking at Grady Williams, and you're looking at Denzel Ward. Every single year we go into college football and everyone's like, oh, who's DBU? Who's DBU? The only 2 options are Ohio State and LSU. And the fact that we have 3 of those guys that, just baller. I love the way that our team is set up because in order to win in this league, you got to be fast and you got to play hard. And there's nobody that plays any tougher than Ohio State football and LSU football. It's LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama. Those are the only 4 options of college football that are out there. Everyone else is playing for second place.
Yeah, Ed Orgeron, I'm gonna get these tigers out
Go
here.
Tigers.
We're
Go
gonna
Tigers.
we got the Tiger King, Joe Burrow, who's gonna play for the Cincinnati Bengals, and I can't do it. I can't do it as well as that.
Good.
I can't do it as well as that Joey Molinaro, who
We got
is
that
now.
national championship. Go Tigers.
That's that sounded more like the guy from Waterboy, like.
It's gonna hand out.
But yeah, I mean, but remember, Paul, as you said, DBU. The only debate is OSU and LSU. According to the experts, though, it's Texas or an LSU or whatever other school. But OSU, the Ohio State University, we're BIA. And remember, it's BIA now. It's Best in America. So they made that transition to put themselves above being DBU. But yeah, so Grant Delpit, I was intrigued by him when I started to see some mocks a month ago. It kind of got turned off a little bit because I kind of was going back through the tape a little bit on him and did see those missed tackles, but just reading more and just seeing and listening to him. We talked about how we're not going to get wrapped up in what people say, but there's certain times where you listen to a person talk and you just know that what they say is not something it's going off the cuff. It's not like he's probably been trained on what to say in interviews and give those typical answers. That was one of those like off the cuff reactionary type answers
sure.
that either you're going to love or you're going to hate. And it's like, I love hearing something like that. Don't like that it was at Nate, but still it's still fun. It's one of those little quips. So let's look at the third round now. You trade down 14 spots, not just a couple spots. You trade back 14 spots. Now we're really getting back into typical Browns football and analytical football. And we take a Pro Football Focus wonder. Oh boy, I'm so excited to have
scores off the chain.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have Pro Football Focus rate our draft just so great after this is all over, because guess what? They're analytical based. And what does that mean? We're still going with analytics. So how did some of those players mount up the last time? Yes, are we in a much better position to have success on the field with the talent that's already here? Sure. But you need to have the supplemental pieces that are going to put the whole puzzle together. I don't want it to just be analytical wonders. I want football guys. So I'm hoping that this defensive tackle and what Pro Football Focus says, this Jordan Elliott is one of those defensive tackles that can be a good rotational guy and kind of learn the game behind Ogunjobi and Richardson. So if you lose one in the offseason, he's ready to step in and you start developing that kind of culture. And then we get the linebacker. And I think coming out of last night, what we wanted was we wanted a linebacker and a safety was the main two things we were looking for out of those 3 picks. We got it. But of course, you get a guy that, yeah, I mean, he's a tackling machine, but he's got that slender frame, as you mentioned. And while Malik Harrison, people may say, well, you're a Buckeye honk. You got those scarlet and gray glasses on. I don't care. OHIO all day. I don't care. I'll be like Bohm. I'm all about Ohio State, so I'm going to champion for those guys. But guess what? They also turn their players into pros. They develop them into professional football players. So why wouldn't I want Malik Harrison on this team, whether he had just one great year or not? Guess what? Joe Burrow just had one great year after an average year and turned into the number 1 pick. There's something about that Ohio State develops them right, puts them in the right position to come in the NFL. And you take a guy at LSU, just won a national championship. I think he's going to be a pretty good player, but I just seeing Malik Harrison's name come off the next pick with Baltimore. And as we transition into the rest of the AFC North here, just to see Malik Harrison, after already seeing J.K. Dobbins go there, we didn't need a running back, but they get J.K. Dobbins, and then you get Malik Harrison right after the Browns pick, a slender Barkevius Mingo-like linebacker. You get that stout, bruising linebacker going to your AFC North foe who you're trying to compete with and will probably have a draft rated much better than yours.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously sucks that Malik goes literally the very next pick to a division rival.
I hated it so much. The anger just started to swell. Luckily, I was just so tired that it didn't come through yet today, but I'm
Right.
waking up and you can hear it. You can hear it.
No, and I feel, like I said, I don't like the fact that Malik went to, Baltimore. The fact that I said this to Kelly, Kelly, my wife, last night. I hate the fact that our rivals are always going Buckeyes. Like the fact that Pittsburgh or Baltimore, and even Cincinnati to an extent, always drafts hometown players. And I mean, and you're looking at, I mean, just think of all of the Steelers that are, Ryan Shazier, Cam Hayward. I mean, those guys, as Buckeyes, and now J.K. Dobbins and Malik Harrison to the Ravens. I mean, I hate the fact that they go there. If they would go to literally any other team than the Steelers or Baltimore, I'm okay with people going to Cincinnati, honestly, because I don't view Cincinnati as a threat ever. And like that's
the more Ohio State people you get, the better they're going to become.
Even whenever Cincinnati does have a good team, I still don't view them as a threat. And I don't know if that's just, a bias or I don't know. But
well, when's the last time they got past the first round of the playoffs? I mean, not that the Browns have been there in a while, but
yeah.
Right. Well, that's the thing. The Browns have actually won a playoff game ahead of the Bengals. They haven't won a playoff game since like 1991. The Browns have at least won one in '94. And we didn't have a team for a couple of years. So I mean, yeah, they're like 0-6 or 0-7 since then. So I don't view them as a threat as much, but Pittsburgh or Baltimore, literally J.K. Dobbins and Malik Harrison could have gone anywhere else, and I would have been totally fine, rooted for them, for forever. But no, they have to go to our rivals, and now we have to sit here and watch, J.K. Dobbins rush for 1,000 yards behind a pretty solid offensive line that the Ravens have, and Malik Harrison is going to be taking over, and he's probably going to start as a rookie. And that's going to kill me to see us, have to go up against him every time he hits Nick Chubb. I'm going to be like, why? Don't do that. Don't break my heart, Malik. But I mean, he's going to. But God, yeah, no, it does suck.
Yeah, well, I mean, and Baltimore got the LSU linebacker that you really want out of this draft, Patrick Queen, and you follow that up with Malik Harrison, and of course J.K. Dobbins, who, he's not gonna breakaway speed. He doesn't have that. But with a team that's focused on the run with Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, that team is set up for J.K. Dobbins. And it's the perfect situation for him. And I hate that so much. Like, people can come back at me that if, you want to, like I said, call me a Buckeye hunk. I really don't like that term because there are Buckeye hunks that can't see reality like we do here on the Voice of Land. You know those Buckeye fans. Bohm, myself, you, Peter, we aren't that. We can at least see when it's realistic, whether Ohio State's not going to have a good year or they're not a championship contender or some of the players that maybe, they might be overrated. We can definitely call those moments out when necessary. And people can also say, well, if you're going to complain that the Browns don't take Buckeyes, I mean, you got Denzel Ward and Dorsey started taking them. Yeah, because we championed for so long to go to look 2 hours south down in Columbus, Ohio. And yeah, sure, there wasn't pro days this year. The tape's pretty accessible. You watch them live. They're going to be on your local television every single week live. Plus you can just record that. And then you got the tape right there for you. You can start your tape on the Ohio State Buckeyes right away. And especially through the last analytical period with Sashi Brown, when Andrew Berry was kind of just a cog in the wheel, and now that he's at the helm, I don't want to see the same trend come back where we are just anemic to and just allergic to looking 2 hours south to what the Buckeyes are producing down there, because there is talent. Yeah, I'm not going to look for just Ohio State players to be here. That's not what I'm doing. Get the best players. But some of those best players play at The Ohio State University, where just like you got guys from LSU and Alabama, professional run college programs, as close to like professional as possible, the attention to detail, the focus, keeping players as disciplined as possible down in those programs. It's the same thing at Ohio State. That's the Big Ten example. That's why they keep winning the Big Ten every single
Right.
year, because they do things differently, and they're not just trying to win national championships. They're creating professionals in the football environment and the work environment, because you've seen so many of those football players at Ohio State. Do hear so many good stories about them in the business ranks, in the professional world overall. So just to see those two go to Baltimore, and I know that they're going to have a great rated draft, that hurt me a lot. Now, if we look at Cincinnati's draft, I know that they're not going to scare you, but of course they had the number one pick, the most least anticipated pick of the night. If there was going to be any shock, it was not taking Joe Burrow. So they start with Joe Burrow. Then they get T. Higgins, a really good wide receiver out of Clemson. And another guy that I kind of wanted, was looking at for linebacker, kind of an underrated star. Now we got to play it, Logan Wilson. Now, of course, they had the opportunity to select him before the Browns even came up on the draft board, but I thought Logan was going to last a little bit longer into the third round. That was a guy I was looking at. So decent draft already for Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, Cincinnati, and I just want to say one more thing about Baltimore, just real quick. The guy that they picked up, Duvernay, the wide receiver, he's going to be a solid wide receiver for them.
This
I'm
is
not
a
going to
deep
lie.
wide receiver class.
Yeah, it is a deep wide receiver class, but I mean, he's going to be a solid pickup for them. That's last thing for Baltimore. We don't need to talk about them anymore.
No.
But Cincinnati walking away with Joe Burrow, obviously franchise quarterback. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback here for them. So I mean, they're going to be set up for the future. I think T. Higgins is someone that a lot of people thought that T. Higgins was going to be a top 20 pick. The fact that he fell to round two is pretty unbelievable. But T. Higgins is a solid wide receiver. Still needs to. He needs to. I don't know necessarily if he needs to bulk up anymore, but he needs to play more physical. And that's what a lot of people were saying, that that's the reason why he dropped a little bit, because against press coverage it's not as good, and you're going to get pressed in the NFL. Especially Denzel Ward's going to pop you in the mouth. That's just how it's going to be. Logan Wilson, you're absolutely right. Logan Wilson is a solid linebacker. It would have been awesome to have him on the team as well. But once again, I still think the way that our draft was set up here is we went for speed, and we went for someone that can hit you and hopefully wrap up and finish it. So that is something that Jacob Phillips, it looks like he's going to it's going to be great for us. We're going to have that fast linebacker, someone that can spy on Lamar and kind of go from there.
Yeah, and I mean, the one pick that I really liked for Cincinnati, and unfortunately liked for Cincinnati, was that T. Higgins pick. And I think that shows the way that national semifinal game went between Clemson and Ohio State. I think shows why Ohio State is BIA, and would also, if we're going to be realistic about some of the Ohio State players, would give you pause for concern about Malik Harrison, because he was part of a defense that allowed Trevor Lawrence to just run up the middle all night.
Right.
But those lanes were open because he didn't have anybody to really throw to. There was times it was design quarterback run as the night went on by Dabo Sweeney, because he saw that they were starting to have success there when there was some ad lib plays by Lawrence throughout the night. And Malik Harrison and that linebacking core, they weren't there on that second level. So that would give you a pause for concern if you're Ravens fans, for that kind of some of that transition he still needs to make as part of that whole crew. But that was a whole defensive thing though too. It wasn't just one player or not. And I do hope, and as much as we care more about Cleveland, we always will care more about Cleveland. Cincinnati is an Ohio city, and it's considered the Queen City. Whatever, I'm more about how they're a big soccer town more than anything else. That's the only thing I support, is their support for soccer. But I just hope I think that Joe Burrow is going to be a good NFL quarterback. I just think it's going to take him time, just like it kind of like took him time to take that season under his belt at LSU, and he'd already had some years here at Ohio State to just learn and get in the film room. It may take a year or two to really blossom in the NFL. And I don't want Cincinnati to give up on him too quick, just like we're not giving up on Baker too quick, because we see the talent is there, and some guys just it blossoms a little bit later than others. So you got to at least give that time and give a proper valuation. And I guess, do we have to talk about? I guess
Yeah,
we do.
we'll talk about the Steelers real quick. Chase Claypool is the wide receiver for Notre Dame. He's a bigger guy. 6'4", 238 pounds. He ran like a 4.4 40. So I mean, the guy's big. I've heard that he has some drop issues, which I'm all for. Our buddy Mark Rupert from our fantasy league here was telling me that by them picking up Chase, a lot of people are thinking that they're going to be moving on from Juju. They're thinking that
Really?
apparently out in Pittsburgh, they are not a lot of people are not fans of Juju.
Wow.
Maybe just because of his this past year, he didn't have the greatest year. He was injured and Ben was hurt. I think it would be a massive mistake if they were to move on from Juju.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're also Ben Roethlisberger, who's going to be turning, I believe, 39 this coming up year, 38 or 39. He is owed $40 million next year.
Whew.
He's owed that much. And like, if they were to cut him, they'd only save 17 million. But honestly, 17 million right there would be for Juju. And like that just makes too much sense. But I don't think that they're going to cut bait with Ben. Like what the Chargers did, this past year with Phillip. So I think it's a massive mistake if they were to cut bait with Juju. But I mean, that's just coming from one of our Pittsburgh insiders, basically.
Right. I don't want to give Pittsburgh any credit or credence or anything, but just to look at it realistic as we do here at VTL, Juju, I think, struggled with the whole taking over at that number one spot because him being drafted, everybody loved that pick because he was a perfect number 2 to a top pick. Now we see what Antonio Brown, who he really is. So good that they got rid of that and got that out of their locker room. But I think he did struggle with that transition to the number 1, and the injuries definitely hurt him as well. I still think that they need to, as a Browns fan, I know that it's going to instill fear, and he's going to have to be, of course, covered by Denzel, and he can be a real threat out there on offense. So I don't see why they would get rid of him. I have seen a little bit of Chase Claypool just because my grandfather is a big Notre Dame fan. There was some drop issues, but I know he's kind of like a raw talent. I think just the way he's kind of come up through the ranks playing football, definitely a raw talent with the size, the speed to play, and still just kind of getting the nuances of the game. So once he does that, he could really pick it up. I guess a solid pickup for their first pick, since they didn't really have a first round pick. So that was a decent value pick, I guess, for them. And they also got Alex Highsmith out of Charlotte. Of course, we have Larry Ogunjobi, the first draft pick out of Charlotte. Yes. So they're starting to kind of develop some professionals. I think over the last couple of years, they've had, now that's the third or fourth guy that's come out of that college. So some of those small school guys coming out, don't really know much about these guys, so can't really break down, nor do I want to break down the Pittsburgh Steelers at all. I have a name for that city, but I won't say it on air because we're not that kind of podcast, guys. I can't take it to that level. But just to kind of close out, we always kind of close out on a fun note here. Just the draft overall, just kind of what we've seen, just this element of the virtual draft and some of those highlights or even low light highlights that we've seen in coaches, GMs' houses going on. Just what have you kind of seen that you have really stood out to you on this draft, Paulus?
Honestly, Cliff Kingsbury lives like a pimp. I think Ryan Clark, noted it as the.
Do I look like Cliff Kingsbury?
I think he noted it as the thirst draft or the thirst trap draft house. So I mean, it was fantastic. I absolutely love that. But yeah, Cliff Kingsbury lives like a pimp. Sean McVay, I don't know if you've seen it, but he has the same sort of setup as what Cliff does,
Yeah.
apparently.
Hmm.
So that's pretty cool. But then you look at people like Bill Belichick. Oh, I should put it this way: Cliff Kingsbury has 5 total wins in the NFL and
Yeah.
lives like a god. And then you look at someone like Bill Belichick, who looks like he's living at one of our houses.
Yeah.
And he's made millions. He's won 8 Super Bowls. 6 as a head coach, 2 as a defensive coordinator for the Giants, and he looks like he's he's doing the draft at my dinner table. It looks like. So it's crazy to see that sort of difference. And then you look at someone, obviously Jerry Jones, who is the baller of all ballers. He has a 200. He's literally doing the draft on a $250 million yacht. Can you say anything else to that? I mean, the guy has a 250, $250 million yacht.
If I had someone else sitting next to me right now, I would have one of my family members pick up my phone and like put it to me to just try to like reenact what he did, because he's had his son like put his glasses on for him, like take that on and off, but now he's got like either wife or a daughter-in-law, I don't know who it was, but there was a picture of a woman holding the phone up for him. He can't even hold the phone. He's just kicked back in that yacht, just like Cliff Kingsbury.
When you have that much money, you can do whatever the hell you want. You can have people do whatever the hell you want to them.
Yes, hold my phone for me. I can't do it. I can't twist my arm to show that at all. I guess the picture I really kind of like as much as Bill Belichick. I've been in the league 30 years. We're on to Cincinnati. Tom Brady. Yeah, he's a good football player. He's down in Tampa Bay now.
Tampa Bay.
What I loved last night was seeing his dog sitting in the seat, like actually just sitting there and looking at the computer screen. Like, I guess the dog is the dog the mastermind? Is that the reason for the dynasty? Is that what we got to find?
It very well could be.
Is SJ that guy? Should we have SJ doing our picks for us?
Honestly, SJ could probably do as well as like half the teams in the league, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're going to look at this some of the funny moments with this draft as well, the one you gotta look at is the conspiracy theory. Was someone using the restroom? Is the G-rated version I will use on this podcast or how we talk? Was someone using the restroom in? Oh my gosh! Mike Vrabel's house, head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Is that real? I'm of the belief, I gotta tell you guys, I kind of told you before we came on air, I'm not so sure. I think it may have been staged, not necessarily photoshopped. I think it may have been staged, because when I saw the empty house picture last night and you could see that reflection, it looked like a recliner, not a toilet that was back there or a bathroom. I don't know.
Peter, what do you think?
At first I thought it was Photoshop, and then I found a video clip of it, and I don't know. Like I said before, I spent way more time trying to figure out if there was a guy on the toilet than I ever thought I would in my life. So, the fact that when the video first started playing, there's a person standing next to them talking to them, and then they walk away. I'm like, it's okay. That can't really be what it looks like, but
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, what the heck was going on with the rest of that picture?
Right.
I
mean, I don't know if you guys have ever seen
costume or whatever. It was nuts.
I don't know if either one of you guys have ever seen the show Rob and Big, but Rob Deerdeck, who's from Ohio, was like a skateboarder. They like this reality show on MTV, and Big Black was his security guy. Like, he ended up getting a toilet made for him that was a reclining chair. So that's the only way that would have been a toilet. I'm not even going to dig into and keep breaking this all down. But
was that a Simpsons episode? Didn't Simpsons?
May have been.
The Simpsons probably did that.
Probably. I'm sure
maybe it was Family Guy. I don't know. One of them. The recliner
they're always predicting the future there.
They are. It's scary.
If that person was going to the bathroom, I wonder if they tried to wipe their butt with the opposite hand, like Tristan Wirfs. Tristan Wirfs says is like the difference between playing right tackle and left tackle. But that's that little quip right there, and that little fun conversation will wrap up our draft conversation for right now. Anything that does come out later on today, as we record on Saturdays every single week, anything that does come out today, we will discuss next week and look at some other storylines going around. It's just been fun to have live sports and sports we just don't know the result to as of yet. I heard Bo Bishop say that on Cleveland Browns Daily yesterday. It's been nice to have sports we don't know the end result to, or we don't know what's going to happen with. So that has been definitely fun this weekend, and hopefully we get a little bit more of that piece by piece as we go on. But that is going to wrap it up for this edition of the Voice of the Land podcast. For Nick Paulus and Peter Telep, I am Kevin Arnold, telling all of you sports fans out there, remember, it's to not let anyone ever tell you it's just a game, and we love you all 3,000. See ya next week.